What are some ideas, Erin, for the parent when the kid says, I don't know what to do outside. It's so boring.
Yeah. Well, if your kid says that, that simply is them telling you they haven't had enough time outside. And so that is a clear indicator, mom and dad, that you are heading in the right direction. If they say there's nothing to do outside, it just means they haven't spent enough time outside to figure out all the things that there is to do. And there are things to do outside no matter where you live. If you live in the city, if you live in the country, if you live in the suburbs, there's things to do outside. There are birds in your neighborhood that live in your neighborhood. There are trees, there are parks, there's open spaces, there's swimming pools, there's all kinds of things to do. So,
And I think we also need to think about it of no matter where you live, but also no matter what age your kids are.
mhm.
Because now it's probably a little bit easier with the younger ones, but we're saying this even with the older ones
Oh, yeah.
as well.
Yes.
Because the teens, this may be even more challenging with the teens, like go outside.
Well, again, it can be if they have not been habituated in doing that. If
Mhm.
they're not used to, okay, let's get out of the house, go outside, play pickleball, ride a bike, go
Well, okay,
ride the
so give us the
skateboard.
ideas. Okay, these are the ideas. I want to get explicit. Here are some ideas. So you just mentioned pickleball. Hey, that's
Yeah.
a good. So different sports and activities.
Sure. And so some of this might require, hey, maybe we should invest some of our money in getting some things the kids can do outside. So we have, well, speaking of pickleball, we have a pickleball net that the kids put out in the street and paddles and stuff so they can play. There's also courts. I think everywhere in the world now has pickleball courts
Yeah.
because it's so popular.
Well, we get the full on net. I
Yeah.
mean, I forgot how wide it is, and you just set it up in the street. The kids take chalk and
Mhm.
they create their own pickleball court, and it's the teenagers
Mhm.
that are doing it, and
Yeah.
they'll grab some of the other teen kids in the neighborhood and play pickleball.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of
Oh, and
different sports things you can do.
we've done we're kind of a soccer family. Kids play soccer, so
We have
we've
soccer
had
nets.
little soccer nets
Mhm.
and have played little games of 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 in the
Mhm.
backyard with the
Yeah.
kids.
So bikes, all kinds of things like that. Chalk is a great outdoor tool for kids to have. It's very cheap to
Probably going to be
buy.
the younger ones. I can't
The
imagine your 17-year-old daughter is going to go out with chalk.
No, but they draw the pickleball court with it. But yes, I mean, our granddaughters use the chalk for drawing in our driveway, and it hoses off easy. So it's a wonderful tool. So for small kids, things like spending your money on outdoor things can look like chalk or bubbles or bug nets, bug catcher nets, or maybe a magnifying glass and a shovel for them to dig in the dirt and look for bugs. Maybe it's a small nature guidebook for the birds in your area and them looking for going outside and finding a bird and then finding it in the
So maybe a
nature
pair of
guide.
binoculars.
Yeah, binoculars. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. So thinking about buying some of these outdoor tools can help the kids with, hey, there's some tools to use to do different things outside. And this can help them when you kick them out of the house, as you
Mhm.
should do, and kind of say to them, hey, figure out some things to do. It is helpful sometimes when they have things like that spark ideas for
Mhm.
things
Yeah.
to do.
And summer's warm, so get some of the water stuff out. Like, you know what? Young kids would be happy with just a hose and a sprinkler, right? And they could have hours of
Yes.
enjoyment.
Or a couple cheap squirt guns. I mean, yeah. So, and it's really hot in some areas. So I know the water stuff becomes more and more important as the summer goes along. So,
Yeah.
having purchasing some outdoor stuff that your kids would be stoked on or would help give them ideas is one way to say, hey, here's a yes we're going to say to that's something good that will get you outside doing good things.
Yeah. And you don't have to come up with every idea for them. Feel free to just push them outside, tell them you figure it out. And
Mhm.
I guarantee you, probably in about, 15, 20 minutes, they'll have figured out something.
Yeah.
And so here's the second category. It's reading. One
Mhm.
of the things we want our kids to say yes to is reading. And of course, there are all kinds of benefits to this. Number one, reading should be a central part of our educating of our
Mhm.
kids. We as believers want our kids to love reading. That's one of the things that's been a goal of ours for our kids is we want them to leave our home with a love of reading.
Mhm.
Obviously, first and foremost, we want them to be readers of God's word. So we want them to develop a love of reading for that reason alone. But so there's this category of reading.
Mhm.
So say no to the screen, say yes to reading. And there's all kinds of maybe kind of creative and practical ways we can get them reading. Because I,
Yeah.
I can just imagine some of us hear that and go, oh gosh, it's like pulling teeth to get my kid to read.
Yeah, some of you are thinking, "Oh, my kids aren't readers," or one of my kid is a reader, but my other one isn't. Well, reading is something that all people can do and can learn to
And
love
should do.
and should
We I
do.
mean, we have this is where it's like we should develop maybe a kind of a deeper theology of reading
Mhm.
and the primary place it should play in our lives
Yeah.
because God's word is primarily revealed to us through the written word.
Yeah. And you think about how culture fights against us so much just in the reading part alone. Because our technology, I mean, if you turn off if your kids are watching a show, you turn it off and say, okay, go pick up a book. The shift you have to do from being just constantly stimulated by watching something on a screen to now sitting in quiet and listening and thinking, you're asking a big shift there.
Mm.
And so this might be more difficult for those of you out there who reading is not really a big part of your family, but it's okay. Like I said, it's a habit that anyone can nurture,
Yeah.
and any of your kids can become lovers of books.
Yeah, well, you talk about turning off the screen, and I'm thinking, okay, this is maybe even more difficult of a shift when you have a teenager who's addicted to social media
Yeah.
and you're telling them to turn that off and read. So there may be some work, some hard work that we have to put in up front.
Yes. And not all so technology is a challenge when it comes to reading. The second one is sometimes I'm thinking of the teenagers. So they've finished school and now it's summer and they see books as drudgery and homework. And
Yeah.
so depending on what type of school they're in and how the school uses books can oftentimes either nurture a loving in reading for our kids if they're in a school that understands how children learn, or if they're in a school that takes books and dissects them and chews them up and makes it overly analytical and
Yeah.
not looking at books as an art, then you're going to have to do some work in convincing your kids. You're not giving them homework. You're trying to nurture in them a love of reading good things. So there's lots of obstacles that can be in the way. But so here's some ideas for making reading a part of your family in the summer. First of all, just make it a part of a daily thing that they do. And so it can, most times it's kind of good to just get some of the good things in the morning. So it might be, hey, teenager, before the phone even gets turned on, we're going to do some reading together, or you're going to spend some time reading and I'm going to help you find good books or whatever.
Yeah. And this is where, as parents, I think we have to sometimes make our kids do the things that are good for them.
Which takes courage.
Yeah. And so it could be just you're telling your teenager or your younger kid, okay, you just have to at least read one chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've gotten a good fictional book in their hands, what could happen from that is you force them to read a chapter a day. But eventually what might happen is as they get into the book, as they taste, right,
Mm-hmm.
the richness of the book, then they may end up reading a couple of chapters additional on their
Yes.
own.
Yeah.
But it may take you forcing them up front to, okay, at minimum, you got to read one chapter. And it's like with our kids with food, where we're, you know, some of our kids haven't liked certain fruits or vegetables. And we said, no, keep eating that. Oh, you're going to take one bite. You're going to eat one strawberry, or you're going to eat one piece of broccoli. And then over time, they develop the taste for it. And now they love it. They enjoy it. And that's how reading can be sometimes too.
Okay, so just thinking about reading, and we'll kind of go through different kid stages depending on who's listening and what kind of stage you're in with your kids. But one thing you want to emphasize is reading on their own. So have a time where they are spending quiet time reading on their own. Now, what about kids who can't read on their own yet? Well, there's a couple options. They can still have time in their room looking at books and enjoying, especially you should have a whole stock of beautiful picture books for your kids.
For the younger kids?
For the younger kids. And this doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You can go to the library and get good books, or you can, like we do, go to used bookstores and Goodwills and get good books. But they can look at books, or of course they can listen to books. And so we are a big Audible family. We listen to books on Audible. We have for a long, long time. So we even have a whole CD set of the Narnia series that Focus on the Family did. And so when our kids were too young to read out loud and we didn't have the time to sit with them at that time, they would listen to books. So listening to books or just looking at books when they're little is good time reading.
And this is where you can also bring in the older siblings. You know, if you've got a combination like we had in our family of older kids and younger kids, the older kids, we would have them read to the younger kids.
Yeah.
And then that's also a way to help the older kids develop a love for reading.
Yeah.
You read a good novel or something to the younger kids, and the older kids get into it. It's like, I mean, it's when you know, I've read to the kids at night. There's been books that I've gotten into because I was reading to the kids that I probably wouldn't have read otherwise.
Yeah. And actually, if you have kids who are arguing a lot or not getting along, having them read a book together could be a really good bonding thing for them to do. And we have seen that. So
another thing we can do is family read-alouds.
Yes. So having a family book that you're reading, we've talked about this a lot, but summer is a great time to do this because you have a little more time. And so I could talk for hours about good family read-alouds. Should I list it? Well, okay, some of my favorite summer ones.
I think maybe define it a little bit more. You're just talking about, hey, a family sitting down together and someone from the family reading the chapter out loud while everyone listens.
Yeah.
That's a family, because I'm guessing there's some people out there that they don't know what a family read aloud is.
Yeah. So maybe it's during breakfast and mom or dad are going to read for 20 minutes to start off the day and read a family book. Or maybe it's after dinner, everyone gets popsicles, sits outside, and dad reads the book out loud or mom reads the book out loud. So a book that your family can enjoy together at some point in the day, and each family's going to be different on when it would work.
If the kids have popsicles, is it okay for mom and dad to have a glass of wine? Is that... I'm just trying to help motivate parents here.
The kids have a treat and the parents have a treat.
That's right. The parents might need some motivation here.
So yeah, popcorn, make it fun, but have a family read aloud. And if you pick a good book, your kids will be begging you to read, no, the next chapter, please, please. Especially if you do it before bedtime, they will be begging you because no kids want to go to bed and they'll want to keep reading. And so there's so many great, great books.
Give a couple books that you would recommend right off the top of your head here.
Well, for summer books, I think Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate DiCamillo is one of my favorite books. Charlotte's Web, Trumpet of the Swan, both of those by E.B. White. Understood Betsy is a wonderful book. I pulled some books out just so I wouldn't, because I can be so forgetful. Oh, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Pippi Longstocking. These are great, fun books, especially for kids like 13 and under. They will just love these books. But I love these books still, and I'm in my 40s, so they aren't just for younger kids. But you get what I mean. Wind in the Willows, a wonderful book. Reading through Winnie the Pooh. If your kids have seen the Disney movie Winnie the Pooh, read the actual book Winnie the Pooh. It is so good. Mary Poppins, The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. Of course, the Narnia series. So there's so many great, great books. If you have older kids, read The Hobbit, read Lord of the Rings. So those are just some ideas of books that when you read one chapter, your kids are going to beg you for the next chapter.
Yeah. Okay. And so another idea would be just reading through a book of the Bible together. That could be something you do as a family.
Yeah, like saying this summer we're going to read whatever book, and you kind of announce to them, hey, we're going to read through this book of the Bible this summer.
Yep. Here's one thing to help maybe help your older kids to facilitate, but also the younger kids, a book club with friends. And this is where that will, I think, having some of their peers, especially for teenagers, having some of their peers involved in this. And this might be where you just have to kind of coordinate with some other families. Say, hey, we're doing the summer book club. Let's get some families together. Having some allies, having there be some helpful peer pressure. So help your kids organize a book club with friends. Or go to your local public library. They often will do summer reading challenges and things like that.
Yeah, where the kids earn a free ice cream cone or something. But
they'll incentivize it in a lot of different ways.